So this week we're starting out with files. And I want to encourage you to basically isolate the technologies. The temptation is to jump in, start working on the IP, start adding stuff right away. Again, if you have a lot of experience, have at it. I'm not telling you what to do exactly. But especially if you're newer to coding, what I recommended with you to do is to play with each technology on its own. Get familiar with each one on its own before you move on to try and integrate a bunch of stuff and you're not sure which part's working with which. So I want to create another new project here, just basic old Java application. And for this new project, it's going to be my file demo inside of here. It's just going to be playing with files, getting started with files. Then we'll come back to putting the GUI together a little bit later on. So probably all the way at the tail end, we'll bring the GUI back in. So for now, we're just going to play with this. The first thing we're looking at here is just basic file stuff then. When I first went to learn Java, I was already experienced with a lot of coding languages. I had done Pascal and Ada and C and MATLAB and a lot of different programming languages. So playing with Java was not a matter of learning all this stuff. It was easier for me, but the way I still went out about doing it was starting with real basic stuff like the file class. So if I hit control space and then hit control space a second time, you can see that file comes up in the java.io class. This is what we saw in the lecture, and that's where we're going to start with. So I can create a basic file just to get a feel for it. All right, and so as we saw, there's excuse me, 4 different ways I can build a file. I can give it a path name, a URI, a parent file, and then a subfile that's going to go in, or a parent file is a string, and then a file that's going to go in. Those are all ways just representing a file. So I could say something like file is blarg dot not here. Okay, so it's not actually a real file. And if I go off and run my code, which I can do just after my one line of code, it builds fine. It didn't do anything. I can actually even work with this file here. I can say system.out.println file. Go off and print that file. And see, it says blarg not there, not here, no here, no there, or not here is what you're supposed to say there. It's a file that doesn't exist, but it doesn't mean anything because it could exist. That's totally fine. So I can go through and I can even look at certain things inside of here. There's methods I can do. I can say compare to, create new file, there's lots of things inside of here. Let's say get absolute path. If I say get absolute path in here, now let's go and see what happens. So you can see the absolute path of this file is C users documents NetBean project. So this is my computer right here. This is my documents inside the computer. There's the NetBean projects, which is what NetBean creates inside of my documents. And then file demo is the name of the project that's inside of here. And it's saying that it's looking for a project called blarg not there. Now if I go to the files inside of here, there is no file called blarg not there. It doesn't exist. And that's okay. It could exist. We could build it. Now, if I say get canonical paths inside of there instead, it changes things a little bit. Because all of a sudden you can see, look, unreported exception. IO exception must be caught, declared, or thrown. So now that I'm working with a file, the canonical path is saying I'm expecting a real file to be out there. And so if I Alt-Enter this, oops, right here, I say Alt-Enter, I can put, and it throws IO exception on the top of this. Not the best error handling, but it'll work for our playtime right now. And if I run it, well, you see, it still works because all this stuff is out there. Now, if I would put a folder out there that doesn't exist, it could have some issues. There's a lot of different things that could pop up from this, but there's the basic stuff about the file inside of there. Now, I can also say if file.exists, as we saw in the demo, I can say system.out.println this exists. And otherwise, just copy and paste this here. I can say not so much. So now when I run this, you can see this file right there doesn't really exist. We have not created it yet. There's nothing we've done with it. But what I could do at that point is I could create it. So I can do file.create new file. Now this file will have nothing in it, but it will put a placeholder out there named that file. So if I run this, it says not so much because it didn't exist. If I run it again, it exists at this point. And if you look up here inside of the files, blog not there exists. And if I double click it, it's an empty file. There's nothing in it. This is the basics of file understanding. The thing about Java is you don't have to create the file if you're going to write something to it. You only have to create the file, create a new file, if you want to create an empty file that you're not going to mess with right now. You want to put a placeholder out there. But there's an option to do that. I don't have to create something and then write nothing to it. No, I just say create a new file. It's there. Then I can open it up later on to be written to. But just so you can see the basic file manipulation. A little bit more I want to do right here is I want to show you, past this, file directory. dir is equal to new file dot. So this is the current working directory. Now inside of this, it's going to be, you can see blog.no there, it's going to be this file demo stuff. So I can see the stuff that's inside of this. We saw this in the lectures a little bit as well. I can say for file next, we'll just call it, is in dir.list files. And so you can see list files here, did a little bit quick, returns an array of files. This is all the files that are in there, and then I can actually filter files inside of there as well. If I want just files that are star.txt or something like that, I can create a filter. And for this now, I can do system.out.println. I can say next.get. I'll say absolute path, just so we can see the whole that's going on inside of there. And so now you can see inside of dot, you can see there is each of these files. Let me make it a little bigger. Oops. Make it a little bigger. You can see there's blog.not there. There's build directory. There's build.xml. There's manifest.mf. There's a nb project directory. And then there's a source directory inside of there. I can go through and check on each of these files and say if next.is directory, and I could at that point list those files. I could actually do this recursively. I could do it, call a method, whatever I want to do that. But for now, I'll just say system.out.println dir. So just that way we can tag them, just so you can see what this does. And now you can see build is a directory, and nb projects directory, and source is a directory. So we can even distinguish at that point. So you're not going to be asked to do a lot of file manipulation, but I did want you to see this in action. I wanted you to see this in play, what it looks like to mess with this stuff. So when we start up again, the next chat, we're not going to use any of this stuff. This is all going to kind of get thrown away. But at least you can see the types of things that I like to do when I'm learning a coding language about the capabilities. What can I do? So if you wanted to, say, build an app that allows you to archive, make a backup copy of your stuff, you could do it using this manipulation stuff, walking through the directories, seeing what's there. I've done an app before to see, sometimes on my computer there's all this stuff that I want to delete, but I don't know where the big sources of it are. I can walk through each file, get the size of each file, and then total up which was the fat areas. I have an app that's smart about that for me. Those are different things you could do. So use your imagination, play with it a little bit, and see what the capabilities of the language are. All right, so next time we're going to dive straight into writing files. So again, we're going to throw this away, but feel free to take some time, play with this, code this up. Again, if you're short on time, you can skip this. This is not part of the assignment. But at least you've seen it.